Hey church, this week we're going to start small groups a little bit different and we're going to play Do You Know This Song? So just by the show of hands, go around the room or the living room, wherever you are, or the coffee shop you're in. Do you know this song? This is late 70s, early 80s Christian music. And I think Russ Taff, and that already kind of clears half the room probably. A guy named Russ Taff sang this song. It was called We Will Stand. And it was kind of the We Are the World. Remember that? We are the world. It was that of the Christian world. And the song went, you're my brother, you're my sister. Some of you are singing it right now. So take me by the hand, together we will work. How many of you, raise your hand if you know that song. And feel free to pause it. And if you're, just sing it together. It's a good song. Don't go all the way to YouTube and watch it, maybe later. It's a good song. You're my brother, you're my sister. And I thought about that song as I was, preparing this video, because this weekend we talked about spiritual family. And I've shared this before with our church, but the church I grew up in, that was actually a part of the culture. Maybe you kind of had some of those similar experiences. And it wasn't really odd or heavy, but we related to one another and we called each other brother and sister. My dad, growing up, I was a little kid, people called him Brother David, Sister Ramona. I would have referred to everyone as Sister so-and-so or Brother so-and-so. And that might be a little old school, and we're not going to implement that anytime soon here at Faith Church. But I will say that I love the heart of that, where our church saw one another as this sense of deeply committed, genuinely belonging, more than just a place we come every once in a while. We didn't have the phrase around, which kind of gets old, we're going to do life together. Nobody said that, but we actually did. We actually did spend time together. We ate together. We fellowshiped together. I grew up with kids that were my age, like-minded, and have some of those cherished memories because it was spiritual family. And this is what the church is called to be. I actually want to share something with you that I talk about in step 3 and read this to you because I believe it's so on point. I remember writing it years and years ago, and it's still true to this day. Spiritual family doesn't just happen. You have to work at it. Jesus said that the world would know us by the way we love one another. Yet so many people feel alone and unloved. They feel insignificant. And what they really want is to feel like they belong. This is what the church was meant to do. This is where we come in. We believe the church should be a place where people can be honest, where they can share their challenges, where they can wrestle with truth, and where they can look for help in time of need. Ultimately, where they can belong. People matter to God, and He wants all of us to experience His love through genuine community, authentic relationships centered around Christ. This doesn't happen through coming together a few hours a week. It's what happens when people share their lives with one another. We don't believe you join a church based on preference. We believe God adds you to His body and places you where He wants you. I understand that many of you started connecting even to Faith Church because, you know what? I met some great people. I appreciated the message. Our kids were cared for. But supernaturally, I believe, and we want to build in this way, that it's not just, hey, I join and then I disconnect. It's not a country club. God adds me. And what I would encourage you in this way, not that you just take the responsibility of that, but that you see the blessing of that. When you build for the long term and you're added to a group of people and you stay planted, the blessing and benefits that happen in your life. Sure, there are moments where there's disagreement, discontentment, but man, when you really find that place of belonging and plantedness, you experience the blessing the Bible promises. And so what are some of the barriers to spiritual family? Well, there's the mentality of consumerism that plagues all of our culture, individualism, personal comfort. Maybe there's hurt and trust, dysfunction in a natural family or in your church background. And so oftentimes we settle here. This is an attendance center. This is a teaching center. I come and learn. Okay, that's not wrong. It just misses the mark. Or this is a community of like-minded people. Okay, those are beneficial. It's just not the gospel. It's short of what the Bible calls a church to be. Because yes, and sometimes getting this revelation, yes, there's singing and there's a message, and those may be common things from the Bible. But what God has called our church to be, at its truest sense, is a spiritual family. And can I just tell you, that's where the deeper riches are. You can learn, you can have friends, oftentimes in those other paradigms, but the deeper riches are in the waters of revelation of spiritual family. I'll give you a few thoughts, because spiritual family is God's idea. Psalm 68, verse 6, God sets, there's that idea. He joins, he adds, he sets the lonely in families. He leads out prisoners with singing, but the rebellious dwell in a sun-scorched land. What is that saying? Okay, you can know God, you can go to heaven and not go to church or not find true spiritual family. You're just going to do it exposed to the elements, sun-scorched, storms of life. You're gonna go at it alone in isolation. God's picture is he sets the lonely in families. And so when we think about our values, the DNA of Faith Church, why Faith Church started in a little cafegematorium. It wasn't to have better music, better preaching. That was not the goal. We truly believe that our redemptive purpose was people need a spiritual family that helps their families get stronger. That's the calling. That's a stake in the ground that we planted 14 years ago. So the second principle here in this video is spiritual family is how we have chosen to build. Spiritual family is how we have chosen to build. The Bible describes the people of God in two ways: a family and a body, not a community, not an organization, but a family and a body. A family where I'm known and seen and loved, and a body, very important, where I have a function, I have a role. And so this is how God has called his church to really grow and thrive in every season, at every size, coming back to these principles. Here's the third thought. God places us in a spiritual family for the benefit of all. 1 Corinthians 12. Let's read this together. If you have a Bible, your phone, 1 Corinthians 12, 14 through 20. For the body does not consist of one member, but of many. If the foot should say, because I'm not the hand, I don't belong to the body, well, that would not make it any less a part of the body. If the ear should say, because I'm not the eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. If the whole body were one thing, if the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing come from? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But as it is, God arranged, I love that word, he arranged the members in the body, each one of them as he chose. If all were a single member, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. Spiritual family, God places us in a spiritual family for the benefit of all. When it comes to building this way, it takes time. It calls all of us to push through adversity, to push through awkwardness of building relationships, to get out of our comfort zone, to overcome offense, to grow as a Christ follower. And it's messy, inconvenience, and oftentimes spiritual family is unnoticed. But in the end, it is glorious. And so I want you to talk through these questions as we come to the end of this teaching, that you can discuss these things together. Here's the first one. How did the message, maybe your small group leader, you can discuss this small group video and highlight some of the things from the message that they receive in their notes. How did the message on spiritual family speak to you, challenge you, encourage you this weekend? Discuss that together. How is God calling you to contribute to your spiritual family? I'd love for this to be the question tonight that everyone shares. How's God calling you to contribute to your spiritual family? And then share a testimony of how your life has been impacted by spiritual family. And if you feel up to it, look up We Will Stand on YouTube and listen to it together. Maybe you'll just have some fun together. Love you all so much, and I'll see you next week as we continue our series. Thanks.